to give us a quiz.
How can he give us a quiz if he hasn't taught us anything yet?
We're supposed to be a smart kid. Maybe he thinks we know stuff already.
I memorized every single date in the AP books. I bet I know more dates than Mr. Murph.
And stop, here he comes.
Hello, everybody. Well, I know some of you, but not all of you. And since this is a mixed grade class, let's introduce ourselves, shall we? I'm Mr. Murphy, and history is my game, which I guess you already know. How about you? Why don't you say your name, your grade, and whatever.
My name's Leandre. I'm in 3rd grade. Sorry, you already knew that. I'm just trying to follow the protocol.
Thank you, Leandre.
I'm Marcel. I'm in 5th grade. Whatever.
Marcel, whatevers are not required. Good to meet you. Next, in the back.
Douglas, 9th grade. I'm here under protest.
Oh, really? How so?
I don't like the idea of a mixed grade class. No offense.
Oh, no taken.
Douglas, it's new for all of us. Let's roll with this, shall we?
Wait, Mr. Murs.
Yes, Marcel.
I do have a a question. Will there be a quiz like today?
Well, kind of, yes.
I'm worried.
How can you give us a quiz?
Not fair. You know my name, but I don't know yours.
Oh, sorry. I'm Davian, 10th grade. Look, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, okay? I just mean you haven't taught us yet and what... Never mind.
No, Davian, you have a point. Look, don't worry. It's not a graded quiz.
It's not, but I got all the dates memorized.
I don't believe we've met. You are?
Oops, sorry. Hi, I'm Srimati. I'm in 5th grade. I study all the time.
Well, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to know dates, but you know, there's a lot more to history than dates and battles and all that kind of stuff. History is about you and me. We are making history right now. And way back when, people like us were alive, doing things together, making choices, making history.
Mr. Murphy.
Yes, do you have a question?
I like the comment.
Okay.
I felt that our history class will ever be in a history book.
Well, Leandre, you might be right about that, but that doesn't mean that you won't make the history book someday. Any one of you, or more than one of you, or all of you could make waves in this world. The kind of history that we're studying here, it's about people.
Like what?
Well, like Jersey City. What do you know about Jersey City's history?
I know that downtown used to be where a lot of poor people live. I know more rich people live there than in any other part of Jersey City.
You're right.
You can't even afford to live there anymore.
Yes, you're right. I know I can't.
I know that people just came and tore all the old houses down. I read that in the newspaper once.
Good, that's true.
You read the newspaper?
My mom does it. Sometimes I read while she's reading.
Mr. Mars, how old is Jersey City?
Well, Jersey City was named Jersey City about 175 years ago.
What was it called before that? Or was there nothing before that?
Oh no, people have been living here for several thousand years.
Mr. Murs, I thought Henry Hudson discovered Jersey City in 1609. That's only 400 years ago.
You're right, Marcel. Henry Hudson was an English explorer who was working for the Dutch government, looking for a faster way to get to Asia because everybody was after Asian spices. Europeans loved Asian spices, and it was really hard to travel to Asia across land from Europe. So the Dutch and the English were trying to find ways to sail across the Atlantic Ocean and up and over North America, but that didn't work. So Henry Hudson did wind up sailing into the harbor here in 1609. But there were people already living here.
Indians?
Yep, there were several native tribes here, the first Americans. And on this side of the big river, we call it the Hudson River, there lived a tribe called the Lenni Lenape. They were an Algonquin people, they spoke an Algonquin language, and they had been living here for thousands of years.
So what was it called between 1609 and
1838 to be exact. Well, it was named the city of Jersey in 1820, and before that it was a part of Bergen Township in Bergen County.
Wait, Jersey City is in Hudson County.
Yes, but there was no Hudson County until 1840. This was all Bergen County before that.
So what about before 1820?
There were villages, all part of the town of Bergen. You might recognize the names. There was Hoboken,
You mean Hoboken?
yep, and the Weehawk,
Weehawken.
and Communipaw,
Communipaw? You mean like Communipaw Avenue?
the very same. Now, there's some confusion about whether the name Communipaw comes from the Algonquin language that the Lenni Lenape spoke, or whether it's a shorthand way of saying Paw's community.
Who's Paul?
That would be Michael DePaw, who Pavonia is named after. He liked naming things after himself, and he was the first and largest Dutch landowner around here, so I guess he figured he could do that. Do you know what paw means in Dutch?
No.
It means peacock, and that should tell you something.
Mr. Morris, I thought New Jersey was named by the English.
It was, when they took over governing the area back in 1664. Before that, it was governed by the Dutch. You see, that's who Henry Hudson was working for when he sailed into the harbor in 1609. For 55 years, this area was a Dutch colony. The Dutch had colonies all around the world back then. And this was part of the colony of New Netherland. And down where the Liberty Science Center is by the Turnpike exit, that used to be the shoreline at high tide. And right there was the village of Communipaw.
That's where Communipaw Avenue is, right?
Or begins, depends on how you look at it. That's where the Dutch people first met the Lenni Lenape. That's where they first brought African slaves onto this land to work. It's where a lot of history was made. So a little geography. Which way was the village of Communipaw? It's east of here, right?
Oh yeah, I knew that.
This is where it all started. Hey, I have an idea. Want to go see?
Yeah.
To the editor of the Knickerbocker magazine.
Sir, I observed in your last month's periodical a communication from a Mr. Vanderdonk giving some information concerning Communipaw. I herewith send you, Mr. Editor, a legend connected with that place. and I'm much surprised it should have escaped the researches of your very authentic correspondent, as it relates to an edifice scarcely less faded than the House of the Four Chimneys. I give you the legend in its crude and simple state, as I heard it related. It is capable, however, of being dilated, inflated, and dressed up into very imposing shape and dimensions. Should any of your ingenious contributors in this line feel it inclined to take it in hand, they will find ample materials, collateral and illustrative, among the papers of the late Ranier Scats, many years since crier of the court and the keeper of the city hall in the city of Manhattoes, or in the library of that important and utterly renowned functionary, Mr. Jacob Hayes, longtime High Constable who, in the course of his extensive researches, has amassed an amount of valuable facts to be rivaled only by that great historical collection, the Newgate Calendar. Your humble servant, Barent von Schaik.
Guests from Gibbet Island, a legend of Communipaw.
Whoever has visited the ancient and renowned village of Communipaw may have noticed an old stone building of most ruinous and sinister appearance. The doors and window shutters are ready to drop from their hinges. Old clothes are stuffed in the broken panes of glass, while legions of half-starved dogs prowl about the premises and rush out and bark at every passerby. For your beggarly house in a village is most apt to swarm with profligate and ill-conditioned dogs. What adds to the sinister appearance of this mansion is a tall frame in front, not a little resembling a gallows, and which looks as if waiting to accommodate some of the inhabitants with a well-merited airing. It is not a gallows, however, but an ancient signpost.
For this dwelling, in the golden days of Communipaw, was one of the most orderly and peaceful of village taverns, in which all the public affairs of Communipaw were talked and smoked over. In fact, it was in this very building that Olaf, the dreamer, and his companions concerted that great voyage of discovery and colonization, in which they explored Buttermilk Channel, were nearly shipwrecked on the Straits of Hellgate, and finally landed on the island of Manhattan and founded the great city of New Amsterdam.
Even after the province was cruelly wrested from the sway of their high mightinesses by the combined force of the British and Yankees, this tavern continued its ancient loyalty.
It is true, the head of the Prince of Orange disappeared from the sign, a strange bird being painted over it, with the explanatory legend of De Wildegans, or the wild goose.
But this, all the world knew to be a sly riddle of the landlord, the worthy Turnus van Giesen, a knowing man in a small way, who laid his finger beside his nose and winked whenever anyone studied the signification of his sign and observed that his goose was hedging and would join the rest of the flock whenever they flew over the water, an enigma which was the perpetual recreation and delight of the loyal but fat-headed burghers of Communipaw.
Under the sway of this patriotic, though discreet and quiet publican, this tavern continued to flourish in primeval tranquility and was the resort of all true-hearted Netherlanders from all parts of Pavonia who met here, quietly and secretly, to smoke and drink the downfall of Britain and Yankee and success to Admiral Van Tromp.
Back on the comfort of the establishment.
Was a nephew of mine host, a sister's son, Jan Joost van der Scamp by name, and the real Scamp by nature.
This unlucky Webster showed an early propensity to mischief, which he gratified in a small way by playing tricks upon the frequenters of the Wild Goose.
Putting gunpowder in their pipes, or squibs in their pockets, and astonishing them with an explosion as they sat nodding around the fireplace in the barroom.
And if perchance a worthy burgher from some distant part of Pavonia had lingered until dark over his potation, it was odds but that young Vanderskamp would slip a briar under his horse's tail as he mounted, and send him clattering along the road in neck-or-nothing style, to his infinite astonishment and discomfiture.
It may be wondered at why mine host of the Wild Goose did not turn such a graceless varlet out of doors.
But Turnus Van Giesen was an easy-tempered man, and having no child of his own, looked upon his nephew with almost parental indulgence. His patience and good nature were doomed to be tried by another inmate of his mansion.
This is a cross-grained curmudgeon of a Negro named Pluto, who was an enigma in Communipaw. Where he came from, nobody knew.
He was found one morning after a storm,